Developing right now on Morning News Now, escalation and uncertainty in the Middle East. Overnight, at least 3 ships attacked in the Strait of Hormuz just hours after President Trump announced he was extending a ceasefire with Iran, and 1 day after the seizure of an Iranian ship accused of breaching a U.S. naval blockade. Now, growing doubt over a second round of peace talks with a planned trip by Vice President Vance apparently delayed. We will bring you the latest. Also this morning, conflict on Capitol Hill, where the president's Fed pick faced Senate lawmakers in a fiery confirmation hearing.
Mr. Warsh, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the federal.
I'm just asking you a factual question. I'm asking, did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
And I'm suggesting you in 2020, the Fed made a huge inflation problem, and you certified the election.
Meanwhile, voters in one state approving a new congressional map that could change the balance of power ahead of the midterms. We'll take you to Washington. Plus, something in the air. A new report shows tens of millions of people are breathing in unhealthy levels of pollution. We'll break down the data and the cities most at risk. And turbulence ahead for travelers, high airfares and canceled routes, forcing some people to scale back their summer plans. But there is still a way to plan that getaway without breaking the bank. We'll share some tips and tricks to help you plan your next trip. Good morning. I'm Vicki Wynn. I'm in for Joe this morning.
And I'm Savannah. Thank you so much for starting your day with us.
Well, we begin this morning with the very latest out of the Middle East. In a Truth Social post last night, President Trump said the U.S. would extend the ceasefire with Iran indefinitely and hold our attack on the country until the Iranians submit a unified proposal and peace talks end.
Mr. Trump said he has directed the U.S. military to continue the blockade on Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz while advising U.S. forces in the region to remain ready and able. And this morning, the U.K. Maritime Agency says an Iranian gunboat fired upon at least 2 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran's Revolutionary Guard says it has attacked and seized a 3rd ship while accusing all 3 of endangering maritime security in that Strait of Hormuz. Well, those attacks come despite President Trump announcing an 11th-hour ceasefire extension last night, and as Vice President JD Vance was expected to travel to Pakistan for a second round of peace talks with Iran since that ceasefire had started. But that trip was canceled yesterday as President Trump announced that extension. Now, the possibility of that second round of negotiations is uncertain. We have a team with us this morning to break down President Trump's ceasefire extension, what's next in the Middle East, and the possibility of peace talks. Let's bring in NBC News International correspondent Molly Hunter, who joins us from Tel Aviv, Israel, with the very latest. There's Molly. Molly, good morning. Let's start with President Trump's ceasefire extension. How did we get here? Is there any indication that this is on the road to a longer-term peace deal with Iran?
Yeah, Savannah, Vicki. Well, at least I can answer the first part of the question. So over the weekend, President Trump was really trying to will these talks into being, manifest these talks into being. This was meant to be a 2-week ceasefire expiring today, but the Iranians never committed to showing up in Islamabad. Neither side has put delegations on the plane. And actually, Iran has given, through state media, a series of reasons why they were not ready to negotiate it under these conditions, why they would not put a delegation on a plane until certain conditions were met. The main sticking point for them seems to be the U.S. naval blockade, a blockade which the U.S. says will stay in place. And guys, as far as a long-term peace deal, Savannah, the only clear thing is that in order for any deal, any additional ceasefire, any long-term agreement between the two sides, they clearly need to meet face-to-face, sit down, have direct talks. And at this point, Pakistan and Pakistani officials seem to be the only country that seems to be optimistic about that happening this week. Guys?
Molly, despite that ceasefire extension this morning, a U.K. maritime agency said that an Iranian gunboat fired on 2 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran is saying that they have attacked a 3rd ship and that they've seized at least 2 of those ships. What can you tell us about how things are developing there in the Strait, and what's the latest? Is anything else moving through the Strait of Hormuz this morning?
Yeah, Vicki, we have pretty limited information about this morning. Iranian state media is now saying that Iran fired on 3 ships. 3 different ships were targeted this morning, including a Greek-flagged ship called Euphoria, which they say is now stranded on Iranian shores. 2 others were, quote, immobilized. Now, Iranian media does say that they warned these ships before firing on them. The IRGC Navy says that all 3 were, quote, operating without required authorization. Now, maritime data does show that at least 4 other ships, so 7 in total, were transiting through the Strait of Hormuz this morning. We don't have any kind of updated status, though, on the other 4, Vicky.
Molly, I think that's also just a good point for a reminder of just how much traffic used to pass through the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis. Even just a handful of ships passing through does not really make the strait open, at least in the sense that it used to be, right?
Yeah, nothing compared to what it used to be. And when you see pictures, you guys, and I know we have that map to show, there are so many, dozens of cargo ships and tankers right now waiting on either side of this tiny, vital waterway to pass through. And most big shipping companies have deemed it just too dangerous to even attempt.
All right, Molly Hunter, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren now. Colonel Warren, good to see you. Last week, we know that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said in his press conference Iran's military was largely defeated. But in a recent statement to lawmakers from the Pentagon's internal intelligence agency, a very different story. It's saying that Iran retains thousands of missiles and one-way attack drones. How big of a threat is that to the U.S. and the partner forces that are now in the region?
Well, it's a legitimate threat, right? It's the same threat that has already claimed the lives of 13 American service members in this conflict, right? So the threat is the Iranian capability may be reduced, but their ability to threaten U.S. and partner forces remains clearly based on, this fabulous reporting from our own Courtney Cubie here at NBC, as well as what we've read from the Defense Intelligence Agency. The Iranians still maintain the ability to attack both our partner forces, U.S. forces, and now what we've just now heard, commercial shipping in the Strait.
So a separate internal Trump administration intelligence assessment had said that more than half of Iran's Air Force, more than half of its specialized Navy vessels remained intact. That information is according to 3 U.S. officials that are familiar with that assessment. But we've carried here on this show these assessments, these updates from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, saying that Iran's Air Force was wiped out, that its Navy was at the bottom of the sea. Why are we getting such conflicting reports from the Pentagon? And why is that a concern if we're unable to really put a pin in what Iran's current military capabilities are?
Right. It is a problem. And, I always focus more on what we hear from the commander of Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. These are military officers who do not have a political base that they have to worry about. They try their very best, and I think generally successfully, to avoid politics. They simply want to explain what's happening in as clear of terms as possible. What we hear from the secretary and from the political leadership of both the Pentagon and in the White House is a different story, and it's politically motivated. So I always try to listen to what we hear from the chairman and the commanders, and they'll give us a slightly better assessment. And what they have said repeatedly, they use a lot softer language like degraded, largely degraded, words like that. But we haven't heard them say, hey, the Air Force is wiped out, the Navy is gone. We haven't heard that from the military leadership. And they are the ones that have to worry about the size of the Iranian military.
Yeah, Colonel Warren, given these recent intelligence assessments and your point in terms of what the admirals and the generals are saying, who are deeply ingrained in what's happening, right, what do you think that means about the potential for restarting military
capabilities is probably a major factor in why the president decided to extend this ceasefire, right? So if we go back to kinetic operations, that what we saw in the first 5 or 6 weeks of this, we will again see our partner nations, receiving, incoming missile attacks. We will again see the need to expand more of our very sophisticated air defense capabilities to defend against these things. And again, we will see the potential of more American casualties. So I think it's this intelligence assessment that's driving the extended ceasefire, and we'll have to see where it goes from here.
Colonel Warren, let's also talk about this activity in the Strait of Hormuz. So you have the president directing that the U.S. forces continue their blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. But then this morning, we're hearing from that U.K. agency that an Iranian gunboat fired upon 2 cargo ships in the strait. A 3rd ship was seized, according to Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Just explain how tense the situation is there and how much this has become this linchpin of this war.
Yeah, the tensions are increasing. And, you know, the United States Navy seized an Iranian ship, actually 2 Iranian ships at this point now. And the Iranians promised, you know, a retaliation. I think that's what we're seeing this morning is a retaliation, you know, act in kind, right? They've done the same sort of thing that we did. So it's increasing the tensions there in the Straits. Now, that's not good. What is good is that we have not yet seen a return to major large-scale combat operations that we saw in the first 5 or 6 weeks of this. So that's a good thing. What we're seeing now is become this sort of tanker war, this, you know, this naval tension. Again, no U.S. Navy, Iranian Navy direct conflict. It's the commercial shipping and the commercial vessels that are subject to all of this. But I think it's going to begin to squeeze both sides. The Iranians can't get any hard cash. The United States of America seeing continued increase in gas prices. This is a stalemate.
Clashed with Democrats on day 1 of his fiery confirmation hearing.
Yes, senators pressed the financier and former Fed board governor yesterday about his potential conflicts of interest. They asked questions like why he failed to disclose details about financial assets worth more than $100 million and whether he would stand up to pressure from President Trump.
So Donald Trump has made clear that he does not want an independent Fed. In fact, he has said, and I quote, "Anybody that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." And he's made clear that you are his sock puppet, saying last week that interest rates will drop, quote, "when Kevin gets in."
The president never once asked me to commit to any particular interest rate decision, period, and nor would I ever agree to do so if he had.
NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now with more on this. Megan, good morning. So walk us through some of the highlights from yesterday's hearing. We said it was a little contentious. And what could be standing in the way of any confirmation here?
Yeah, good morning. So one of the most significant moments was, as we just heard, when Warsh was asked, he was pressed on whether President Trump has asked him to commit to lowering interest rates. And he said that President Trump has not asked him to do that, and that even if he were asked to do that, he wouldn't commit to it. He also vowed that he would make independent decisions if he is ultimately confirmed. Now, another interesting moment happened when Senator Warren had asked Warsh whether President Trump lost the 2020 election. And Warsh kind of dodged that question, saying that if he's confirmed, he doesn't want to bring politics into the Fed. Now, of course, President Biden had won the 2020 election. Moving forward as well, perhaps the biggest hurdle that he faces is actually from Republican Senator Tom Tillis, who has vowed to oppose President Trump's nominees until the Justice Department drops an investigation into the Fed, which Fed Chair Jerome Powell has said is about renovations to Federal Reserve office buildings. But the Fed chair has also called that a pretext, saying that this is actually about pressure from the administration in order to get the Fed to lower interest rates further. So that's the biggest challenge for Warsh moving forward. And we're yet to see Tillis seem to budge on that at all.
Megan, let's go to Virginia and the major development there in this battle for control of Congress. Last night, voters in Virginia narrowly approved a state constitutional amendment that will redraw the congressional map. How much of a boost does this give Democrats now in the midterm elections coming in November?
Yeah, so this new map that seems to now have the blessing from voters could potentially give Democrats up to 4 seats this November. Now, as you saw earlier, it was a pretty narrow margin with the yes votes, only a couple of percentage points higher than the no votes. But, you know, this could ultimately leave Republicans with only one solidly red seat in the House for the state of Virginia. So right now, there are 6 Democrats in the House representing Virginia and 5 Republicans. Now, that could ultimately leave Republicans with just potentially 1 seat moving forward. Now, just to step back here and give you guys some more context, remember, this was set off when President Trump had encouraged states that are led by Republicans to push forward these new maps in order to give Republicans an advantage in the midterm elections. Now, Democrats have then responded to that by trying to push forward redistricting efforts of their own in an effort to balance out some of these potential Republican gains. But, redrawing maps is one thing, and now candidates from both sides of the aisle are going to have to go out and see how effectively they can actually campaign to some of these voters in these new districts, guys.
It's going to be big news. Megan, before we let you go, another shakeup in Congress we want to ask you about. Democratic Representative Sheila Shurfless McCormick of Florida. She resigned yesterday. This happened just minutes before the House Ethics Committee was set to hold a hearing on whether she should be expelled from Congress. She's now actually the 3rd lawmaker in the House to resign in the past week. What is she accused of? Walk us through the timing there.
Yeah, so another big shakeup in the House. So she's been accused of stealing federal relief funds and using some of that money for her campaign. Now, she's denied allegations, and she's facing a criminal probe as well that's expected to go to trial next year. She's pleaded not guilty in that too. But I want to read you a little bit about what she said about this. She wrote, "By going forward with this process while a criminal indictment is pending, the committee prevented me from defending myself. I will not stand by and pretend that this has been anything other than a witch hunt." Now, as you mentioned, this announcement came really just moments before the House Ethics Committee was set to consider whether she should be expelled from Congress. The Ethics Committee had previously found her guilty of violating 25 ethics violations as well. So this came just moments before, so she really was able to avoid that by this timing of this decision. But as you mentioned, this is just yet another big shakeup in the House after 2 major resignations last week, guys.
All right, Megan Leibowitz covering a lot for us. Thank you so much.
It is time now for a check on your morning news now weather. NBC meteorologist Angie Lastman is tracking the severe weather across the country. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hey there, guys. Good morning. We, over the next couple of days, are going to continue kind of tracking this system that's going to bring us some bumpy weather in some spots. Here's a look at tomorrow. That afternoon severe weather risk anywhere from Texas to Kansas into the second half of the day, and we'll have all the threats on the table. So we'll still be looking at a large hail, some strong winds, and a couple of tornadoes. Notice there's some additional rain across parts of the Midwest and stretching down across the South here as we get into your Friday. More of those showers centered across the Great Lakes, and again, still a risk for severe weather from Tennessee to Texas. This is kind of the pattern that we're in. By the time we get into the weekend, the East Coast seeing most of that rain, and we're going to need the umbrellas, especially for the first half of the day. We'll see, again, some chances for stronger storms to develop across parts of the southern central plains, but not quite as widespread of severe weather as what we've been expecting over the past couple of days. When it comes to the rainfall, anywhere from an inch to maybe an inch and a quarter here up across parts of the Midwest. We need the rain, though, across parts of the South and really a good chunk of the country, but specifically Florida, where there are 9 active large wildfires happening right now. We've already seen evacuations. We've seen structures destroyed. You can see the unhealthy air quality is going to be something we deal with today. And we essentially need the rain. Anywhere from 10 to 40% humidity today. We're going to see this critically dry vegetation lasting until we can get a good dose of rain. Usually that starts up here as we get closer to June. Big picture look for your drought monitor, though. You'll notice across the Southeast a whole lot of extreme or even exceptional drought. That's the case across the Rockies. It was quite a dry winter for folks there. They didn't get the rain that they needed, or the snow rather, that they needed. But specifically for the Southeast, 97% of it in the moderate drought. So we're really looking for some additional rainfall across that region. Otherwise, we've got a couple of record highs across parts of the northern and central plains. It's going to be 90 today in Amarillo. Still the bookends of the country running a little cooler than normal, but we'll start to kind of get that milder air closer to the East Coast here as we get into your day tomorrow. 86 in Charlotte, low 80s for Cincinnati. Amarillo tops out at 85. Back over to you.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. Well, an audacious daylight robbery of an armored truck on the streets of Philadelphia has sparked a manhunt for the suspects. Police are now searching for 2 suspects who were allegedly armed with assault rifles when they stole more than $1 million from a Brinks truck. NBC News correspondent Erin McLaughlin has the latest.
In Philadelphia, an urgent manhunt for these suspects. The federal law enforcement sources tell NBC News carried out a daylight robbery of a Brinks truck.
Someone just robbed a Brinks truck.
with NBC 10 in Philadelphia reporting they allegedly stole more than $1 million. Shortly before 9:45 in the morning, police say 2 gunmen jumped out of a parked car, armed with assault rifles, and attacked the truck. The getaway car later found underneath a freeway.
Everything just happened fast. It was so quick.
Eyewitness Karina Torres says she was feet away.
What I saw was just the end, like where the car just took off. That's it, because like we did saw like a little tussling.
This latest heist after a string of brazen robberies targeting armored trucks across Pennsylvania last summer. Unclear if there's any connection to this attack. Police have released no details on the suspect. The FBI has taken over the investigation. Back to you.
All right, Aaron, thank you. Well, there's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, high risk, a new warning about a popular plant used to produce opioid-like effects. What doctors want you to know as calls to poison centers go up. But up first, after the break, disturbing developments on a deadly shooting at a popular tourist destination in Mexico. What we're learning from witnesses next. Stay with us. Back now with more on a deadly shooting at a popular tourist spot in Mexico. Officials confirm 6 Americans were among those injured in the mass shooting, as we're learning more about the gunman and a possible motive. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson spoke with a woman who witnessed the attack and recorded it. She has the latest and a warning. Viewers may find the video disturbing.
Chilling new video appears to capture audio of a gunman on a deadly rampage on Mexico's Teotihuacan pyramids. In the video, terrified bystanders are seen clinging to the ground, trying to hide. Jacqueline Gutierrez filmed it.
The guy was yelling things. He was telling us that this was a place for sacrifices and it wasn't a place for you to come take your stupid little pictures. He seemed to be targeting tourists.
As the screen goes black, people are heard crying as gunshots ring out. A Canadian woman was killed and 13 others injured, officials say, including 6 Americans and a 6-year-old boy who was shot.
He's the one that you can hear crying in the video. And to me, that was the hardest part because in Spanish, he was saying, please don't kill me.
What was it like laying there for those 14 minutes as this is happening around you?
Yeah, it felt like eternity.
Oh, they're shooting at him.
Authorities identified the shooter as 27-year-old Julio Cesar Hasso Ramirez and said the attack was premeditated. Ramirez carried literature and images, according to investigators, that appear to be related to the Columbine massacre.
He brought out a speaker and he put a song on it. It was really hard to tell exactly what it was, but I remember hearing a reference to Columbine.
Monday's rampage occurring on the anniversary of that deadly shooting. Mexico's president now ordering increased security in archaeological zones and at tourist attractions as the country prepares to welcome more than 5 million people for the World Cup. Priscilla Thompson, NBC News.
Well, Pope Leo is celebrating Mass in the Central African nation of Equatorial Guinea this morning. It's the 4th and final leg of his Africa tour. The American pontiff has not shied away from delivering anti-war messages during his trip. Yesterday, he said humanity's future was at risk of being tragically compromised by wars and breakdowns in international law. He also decried the use of religion to justify war. NBC's Claudio Lavanga is traveling with the Pope and has the latest. Claudio, good morning.
On his second day in Equatorial Guinea, Pope Leo traveled to the town of Mongomo on the mainland to hold Mass in front of the local Catholic community in a country where more than 80% of the population is Catholic, one of the highest rates in sub-Saharan Africa. Now here, the Pope told thousands of people who attended Mass at the local basilica that everyone should serve the common good rather than private interests and bridge the gap between the advantaged and disadvantaged. Now, that's a clear reference to the high degree of inequality here. Now, this is a country that is rich in oil, and yet more than half of the population lives in poverty. Now, he also called for more freedom and for the dignity of every person. Messages that will resonate strongly with the authorities here, as Mongomo is the town where President Obiang, who's been in power since 1979, comes from. Now, in the afternoon, he will travel to Bata, the country's largest city and economic capital, where he will visit a high-security prison where he said inmates are often forced to live in troubling hygienic and sanitary conditions, and will then hold a moment of prayer at the memorial for the victims of a massive explosion in 2021 that killed more than 100 people. Then on Thursday, the Pope will wrap up his 11-day visit across Africa and will return to Rome and the Vatican, but not before he holds his much-anticipated in-flight press conference.
All right, Claudio, thank you so much. More international headlines now. More than a dozen people are dead after a firecracker factory explosion in India, the second in just a week. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. And that's right. We start in the southern Indian state of Kerala, where an explosion at a fireworks factory has left at least 13 people dead. This happened ahead of a major annual Hindu temple festival where fireworks are central to the celebrations. A similar incident occurred a few days ago in a neighboring state, killing at least 25 people, raising questions about the industry's safety standards. Over to the UK now, where police have arrested 7 people who were allegedly preparing to commit arson. London's Met Police saying it's believed the intended target is related to the Jewish community, though the exact target is not known at this moment. And finally to Romania, where a golden helmet and 2 bracelets dating back 2,500 years were returned to the country after they were stolen from a Dutch museum where they were on loan last year. The raid shocked the art world. 3 suspects are now on trial, but Savannah, the search continues for a 3rd gold bracelet that was stolen.
Wow. All right, Danielle, thank you so much. Well, coming up, Smog Check. A new report shows tens of millions of people are breathing in bad air. We're going to tell you who's most at risk and get you tips on how to protect yourself and your family. Your weekly checkup is next on Morning News Now. We are back now with our weekly medical checkup. This week, we're going to take a look at the newly released American Lung Association's annual air pollution report, listing the cities with the worst air quality and tell you how you can protect yourself. We're also going to show you why a popular new herbal supplement is sending some people to the hospital. Well, here to break down these health headlines is NBC News medical contributor Dr. John Torres. Dr. Torres, it's always great to have you with us. Thank you for being here. Let's start with this. It's called the State of the Air, the American Lung Association's report on air quality. What did it find?
Hey, good morning, Savannah. And this is actually a pretty daunting report they're putting out here because it's showing that most of the cities here in the United States have qualities of air pollution that put them into kind of the dirty city category. And they looked at a couple of things. One, ground level ozone, what we used to call smog, and fine particulates, what we used to call soot. And they found out that there are cities out there that have plenty of this, but the important thing, it seems to be affecting kids as bad as anyone. As a matter of fact, nearly half the kids are ending up breathing this kind of air with soot and smog in it, and that can cause some issues, especially as life goes on. So they tend to be more susceptible. It can have longer impacts, and it can impact their life over the decades that they're going to continue to live. And so that air pollution linked to asthma, it's linked to impaired brain function, needs to be taken care of. You can see the cities here we're talking about. And surprisingly, there was only one cleanest city out there. It was Bangor, Maine was the only one that made their cleanest city list. So what can you do? What are the doctor's orders here? Well, essentially, number one, there are clean air forecasts you can check. And if you check those on a daily basis, if it looks like it's going to be bad, you don't want to do things like exercise where you're going to breathe in deeply or things like that. You want to keep the windows closed, keep the air conditioner on if it's hot, and then dust regularly so that way that dust doesn't get pushed around your house indoors and you have those problems with it, Savannah.
All right. Really good tips there, Dr. John. All right. As more people are using an herbal substance, it's called kratom. It can cause an opioid-like effect. Calls to poison control centers, they are also increasing. What can you tell us about this and the potential dangers here?
You know, kratom is actually a natural substance that comes from a tree in Southeast Asia. But the problem is it has opioid-like substances, opioid-like effects on the brain, including addiction. And talking to addiction caretakers, addiction specialists, they're saying they're seeing more people with this type of situation. You can see the statistics there. It actually ended up going over 19 cases reported in 2010, and then if you accelerate to 2023, over 1,000 cases. This is a 6,000% increase in cases. On top of that, we're also seeing from 0 in 2010 or 2012 to up to over 150 cases of what we call serious illness, including death, serious disabilities that are going to last their lifetime. And so you want to be very careful with this. It's not being regulated as well as it should, and hopefully that will change so it can be found in a lot of different places and it can be bought essentially over the counter. You want to be careful. So what can you do with this? What are doctors' orders? Well, essentially, first and foremost, know that this is not going to treat medical conditions. It does have addictive qualities and has qualities that can make it harmful to your health. And so don't consume it. As basically as basic as I can get, Savannah.
Dr. John, once again, great tips. Really important stuff there, I think, also for parents. All right, finally, I want to talk here about brain health. So I think in general, of course, we would all be like, yes, brain health is important. I'm not sure how many of us know what we need to do to actually keep our brain in top shape. Tell us.
I think that's the one thing that comes out of this is that 99% of us say brain health is as important as physical health. And almost 90% of us say we need to make sure we take care of that brain health, especially as we age. And a couple of things that come into mind, sleep, physical activity, diet, these can all help protect your brain health. So you want to make sure that these are set in place over the decades, not just every now and then. They can be hard to maintain, but you want to try and maintain them as best you can. So what are the doctor's orders here? Well, essentially, to try and protect your brain, you want to do a couple things. Number one, stay in school, learn a lot of things, especially, anything you can learn out there is important for your brain. Get moving, that exercise, that physical activity, as much as it helps our body, it helps our brain too. But on top of that, you want to challenge your mind. And sure, puzzles, Sudoku, those things are great, but if you've been doing them for a long time, it doesn't really challenge you as much as it did when you first did it. So go ahead and try something new. And they also often say, try playing a new musical instrument. Try learning a new language. Anything new really challenges your brain, and that's how you keep your brain healthy as we get older, Savannah.
Love that. That's some fun stuff, too. All right, Dr. Torres, great to have you with us. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Let's stay with medical news. More people are becoming nurses as a way to AI-proof their job in this uncertain labor market. Well, the Labor Department projects the number of advanced degree nurses will increase by 35% over the next decade. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda has the details.
Frantic patients, open wounds, and a smoky landscape.
I got ambulances on the way.
In this emergency simulation, Columbia University nursing students are preparing for real-life emergencies.
We have folks coming in from law, the food industry, from business, from finance. Second ambulance on the scene.
Natalia Pasklinski's students are part of a nursing boom. The Labor Department last year reporting healthcare as the largest source of job creation in the U.S. at a time when many industries are shrinking, in part because of artificial intelligence.
Why do you say nursing is AI-proof? I don't think that AI can pick up on the minute nuances that may happen in human emotion, that one-on-one, that empathy.
Amid an aging population, the Wall Street Journal calls nursing the surefire new path to American prosperity. With growth in salary, the median wage nearly double other occupations, and opportunity.
I definitely wanted to be able to pivot at any point. I wanted the flexibility.
Dasha Efremov already has experience as a bedside nurse, but is back in school with the goal of becoming a nurse practitioner so she can diagnose patients and prescribe medications.
I think knowing that in nursing, you don't have to be married to the exact specialty that you start off in is incredible.
Still, the industry isn't without its challenges. Tough hours, physical and emotional demands, and strained staffing levels. But many agree their work is a passion.
It's definitely exhausting at times, but the positive patient outcomes make it all worth it.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News, New York.
Well, coming up, summer bummer. More people rethinking their upcoming vacations because of rising airfares and route cuts. But you don't need to cancel your plans. We're going to get you some tips on how to get away on a budget next on Morning News Now. We're back now with more airline changes that could affect your summer travel plans. As jet fuel prices spike, some major carriers like Delta are scaling back the number of flights they offer. It comes as prices for airfare and fees are also getting more expensive, forcing some people to cut back on travel. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the latest.
Airlines are entering the peak money-making period summer at a time that fuel costs have never been more volatile. Many of them have increased the cost of airfare, but not too much because they don't want to depress demand. So as a result, others are cutting some routes. Delta became the latest major carrier to do that. The question now, how many more are going to follow suit?
It's another turbulent twist.
For passengers already dealing with the double blow of higher airfare and increased bag fees, airlines slashing routes. Delta, now the latest major carrier to join the list, cutting some flights for 3 months from busy hubs like JFK, Boston, and Detroit. Jet fuel's sky-high jump linked to the conflict in the Middle East appears to be taking a toll at home.
Why are airline tickets so expensive right now?
I'm like, should I hold off on buying flights? Are things going to get better?
Confusion for consumers over costs and routes, as Delta says in part it routinely adjusts its network as part of its normal planning process and evaluates a range of factors when making these decisions. We're learning Lufthansa will cancel 20,000 short-haul flights in a bid to save jet fuel. It comes as low-cost carriers in the United States, like already struggling Spirit, have pleaded for help from the government, with President Trump calling on a healthier company to buy them. Katie Nastro is a travel expert at Going.com.
Low-cost carriers operate on razor-thin margins to begin with, and if they're struggling in the way that Spirit Airlines is struggling, that really is a red flag for low-cost carriers in general.
Now airline CEOs bracing passengers for a bumpy ride.
I also don't know how long oil prices will take to come. Even if this ends, there's a long time to get back to normal.
For those grappling with when should I buy my tickets for this summer, the answer is right now, like in this moment, because many folks are operating under the fallacy that if you just wait a few weeks or months, the prices are going to come down. In this environment, that is extremely unlikely. And if the prices do drop, most airlines will honor a rebooking without fees or credit, assuming you didn't book basic economy. Sam Brock, NBC News. Back to you.
All right, Sam, thank you so much. And you saw her in Sam Peace. Let's once again call on Going spokesperson Katie Nastro for more tips on how to take that summer getaway on a budget. Katie, good morning. So jet fuel's expensive, bag fees going up, all these things that just mean more dollar signs for Americans as they try to take that summer vacation. What can people do to try to travel on a budget this summer?
Yeah, good morning, Savannah. You know, we want travelers to be aware that this summer is going to be more challenging to find affordability, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. You just have to be a little bit strategic on the when and the where. So perfect example, if you can shift your trip for summer to the back quarter, or excuse me, the back really edge. So looking at August, the last 2 weeks, you can save upwards of $175 per ticket versus trying to travel in, say, June. So shifting your dates can really be a saver. As well as we know that bag fees have gone up. So trying to travel a little bit later, but also considering a co-branded credit card when it makes sense. If you travel out of a specific airport that one carrier in particular, like an American or a Delta, flies out of consistently, and you opt to go with that carrier, you can take advantage of the free check bag perk that often comes with a lot of those co-branded credit cards. As well as I was doing the math, and if you're checking a second bag, maybe you're traveling with little ones and you've got a lot of gear, consider shipping your luggage this year for that second bag, because a lot of times the fees to check that second bag are kind of comparable to that shipping service like a Lugless or a Ship My Bag. So something to look into. As well as we always love to talk about the fact when cash prices are high, consider using your points to redeem for basically free travel. Just be aware this summer, some of these routes, carriers are upping the award redemption taxes and fees. So just something to be aware of and cognizant about.
Certainly. Tell us, when it comes to trying to book a flight, like the best way to go about getting that lowest price possible. I know sometimes it's like book immediately. Sometimes it's like, oh, wait, they might drop. What's your advice there?
In this current climate, we start to see a lot of people Googling or on social media looking for various hacks on trying to get the cheapest flights. But there is no way to hack the cheapest flights. There is no perfect day. There is no perfect time. There have been many studies, and even our ongoing data shows there's no perfect day to book. But there are strategies in place to help you get the best price, even after you booked. So act quickly in this current market. If you see something that works within your budget, act on it. Regardless if it's a domestic flight or an international flight, very specifically, act on that international flight. But we want travelers to take advantage of buying a main economy ticket so they can give themselves the opportunity to call the airline, have them rebook at that lower price if they see a price drop happen through various tracking services. And that's really a way to save after the fact. You get the difference in the form of a credit to then just use in the future. So you're always saving. You're giving yourself the opportunity to save versus booking a booking a basic ticket where it's super restrictive. So we want you to take advantage of any savings that you can this year by booking that main econ ticket versus a basic.
Really, really good advice there. Could we see more domestic carriers scaling back their flight schedules like Delta? And if so, how does that impact the consumer?
Yeah, to some extent, we've already heard of other domestic carriers like United looking to trim some of their temporarily trim some of their most unprofitable routes, or just looking at carriers that are not debuting some routes. Air Canada, for example, canceling some routes like Toronto to Salt Lake City that was supposed to debut this summer. And that's not really out of the ordinary. Sometimes airlines don't have that historical knowledge of how well a certain route will perform. So instead of taking their chance in this type of market, they just might hold off altogether and sort of suspend it. But we want travelers to be aware that this could happen at the margins. Right now, we haven't heard of any major deep cuts to think July, August, really that peak summer season. But it is something to be aware of if you're traveling between secondary cities or even on really heavy leisure routes that have additional flights in the schedule to get you rebooked on. So something to not be super concerned with, but to be very aware of.
And Katie, real quick, any domestic travel trends that you're seeing?
Yes. For anybody that hasn't booked a flight yet, you want to target predictably affordable areas this year. So think places in the Southeast, like Florida, Miami, Orlando, as well as the Caribbean and coastal Mexico, just outside of domestic flying, that are really, we're seeing the most deal availability this year. So if you haven't booked anything, target those areas for your summer getaway.
All right, Katie, thank you so much. Well, in other money news, Tesla sales in California are seeing a pretty steep drop-off. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has our Money Minute. Hey, Allie, good morning.
Good morning, Sabina. That's right. Tesla losing ground in its biggest U.S. market, which is interesting. Registrations in California fell 24% in the first quarter. That's according to the California New Car Dealers Association. And it comes as more drivers are choosing hybrids over fully electric vehicles. EVs now make up less than 14% of new car sales in the state, while hybrids have pulled ahead. And in healthcare, a massive bet on AI. Michael Dell, the founder of Dell Technologies, and his wife Susan are donating $750 million to the University of Texas at Austin to build what it calls the first AI-native hospital. The center, set to open by 2030, will use AI to help with patient care, diagnosis, and treatment. It's a full-circle moment for Dell, who started his company from a college dorm room at UT. And from college dorms to reality TV, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is set to resume production after a month-long pause, NBC News has confirmed. Filming was halted following domestic violence allegations involving 2 cast members, including the show star Taylor Frankie Paul. The cast had previously voted to pause filming as the investigations played out. It's still unclear who will return. I gotta say, the reality TV drama these days.
Oh my gosh.
The tea is hot between this and Summer House. I can't keep up.
Kidding. It's a lot. All right, Allie, thank you. Of course. AI is making it easier to get your car inspected. Dealerships can now scan cars to help determine the trade-in value and maybe even get you a few extra bucks. NBC's Gotti Schwartz got a closer look.
If you've had to buy or sell a car, you probably know the stress. Sure, a car might look a certain way, but what about the problems you can't see? Well, now some car dealers can look under the hood without lifting a finger.
As soon as the vehicle passes the Viper pillars, the magic happens.
This is Viper, or Vehicle Inspection Platform for Enhanced Reporting.
The sensors get activated, and we start to read thousands of data points of the car as it passes.
The car drives through, and in just a few seconds, the Viper eyes see everything from oil leaks to the depth of tire treads.
Every single aspect of the car gets measured. The body, we look at dents, damages, scratches, all of these data points.
This is the BMW you just saw.
Got it.
So you have all the exterior photos, but then this is the virtual lift, the underbody.
Wait, what?
So this gives you a full high-resolution stitched image of the underbody. So you can see, is there a leak in the oil pan? Is there a crack in the catalytic converter? Is it missing a catalytic converter?
Right.
Is there a muffler problem? All these pieces are a point and click away.
Wow. Mechanics are going to see this and they're going to be like, well,
there goes our jobs. What's your response to them?
It's actually quite different. This just makes your job a lot easier. It takes the variability, and often service bays can do a lot more in the same amount of time with tools like this.
Viper is still in pilot mode, but it's now being used at about 14 dealerships around the U.S. They use it for general repairs, but also to determine the cost of trade-ins. Their goal is transparent data for both sides of the sale.
We think this becomes ubiquitous. We think this is the way cars are going to be bought and sold. There's going to be transparent, technology-enabled devices capturing every part of a vehicle's condition.
And on a trade-in, a car's condition is a major question for dealerships. There's a lot to consider, and they're trying to do it while also trying to sell you a different car.
They don't want to have a vehicle brought in for trade, say that they think it's worth $10,000 and then find out it's really only worth $9,000 or $8,500. So to avoid that, I think they tend to lowball consumers on what they'll value their car at.
Carl Brower is the executive analyst at iSeeCars.com.
If dealers can get confident in an AI vehicle analysis, they might start out at a higher rate that they're willing to give the consumer because they feel it's less likely that they're going to miss something.
Dennis Gingrich has been selling used cars for a long time, and he says Viper makes the car buying haggle less of a haggle.
Seeing is believing, because if I tell you A, B, and C is wrong, if I can show you that, specifically in a retail transaction, you know, that's just going to lower that potential friction point. So, you know, you should have a better experience.
Whatever the experience, more AI and less of a mystery. Gotti Schwartz, NBC News.
Coming up on Morning News Now, a heartfelt mission for one woman given the gift of life twice.
She saved my life more than once. I said if I lived, I would do the work that I'm doing now.
Up next, we'll introduce you to a two-time heart transplant recipient who's turning her gratitude into purpose. We'll be right back. We end this hour with one New York woman's mission to give the gift of life. Roxanne Watson has had not one, but two heart transplants that she said gave her a second chance. Watson told reporter Kay Ingram from NBC New York that it's her life goal to give other people that same chance.
Hi, Miss Roxanne. How are you?
Good. For some, this might look like your routine doctor's visit for a regular checkup.
One more time. Deep breath.
But for Roxanne Watson, a two-time heart transplant recipient, it means a bit more as she waits to hear those magic words.
Your lungs sound very clear. Heart sounds are normal.
I call it my oil change.
Her cardiologist of 20 years, Dr. Julia Shin, calling it a miracle.
It's rare to have a second transplant. But she got lucky. When I met Roxanne, she was in advanced stages of heart failure, wasn't able to walk even a few blocks without getting short of breath, getting hospitalized a lot.
But now, here she is, two transplants later.
She saved my life more than once.
And now, as an organ donor advocate, she's made it her mission to help save others from that agonizing wait for a second chance at life.
You always think, you know, am I going to wake up tomorrow? Am I going to live to get that transplant? I said if I lived, I would do the work that I'm doing now.
Today, Watson has signed up more than 14,000 donors and is just shy of her goal to sign up 1,000 more.
I want to be an influencer. That's what I want to be, for a good cause.
She has her donor, a United States Coast Guard, to thank for that.
This is Michael Boville. People that knew him said he was a good kid.
And when she isn't talking about organ donations, she tells us you can find her
signing people up. And then the rest of the time, I'm resting.
Our thanks to Kay Ingram for sharing Roxanne's inspiring story.
And that'll do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
Good morning. So glad you're starting your day with us. I'm Vicki Wynn in for Joe.
And we're so happy that you're with us. I'm Savannah Sellers, and thanks for starting your day with us right now on Morning News Now. Under fire, 3 ships have now reportedly been attacked in the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. The violent escalation coming on the heels of President Trump actually extending that ceasefire with Iran indefinitely overnight. But a path to peace remains on shaky ground this morning as Vice President JD Vance remains in Washington, effectively stalling those planned negotiations in Pakistan. We are covering it all. Also this morning, a grilling on Capitol Hill with President Trump's pick to lead the Federal Reserve in the hot seat. What he told top lawmakers when pressed on the commander-in-chief's push to lower interest rates. And his uncertain future in Washington as the Justice Department continues its probe into current Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Plus, more tense moments at one of America's busiest airports. The FAA says 2 flights approaching New York's JFK earlier this week came dangerously close, forcing one to go around instead of landing. It comes as President Trump's transportation chief unveils some big changes to the nation's vital air traffic control systems. Will they make our skies safer? And if you didn't know, today's Earth Day. So later in the hour, Vicky is going to show you how to e-cycle your outdated electronics safely, smartly for a cleaner, more efficient planet. I love that. I feel like everybody has a drawer at home of old cell phones, laptops, iPads.
At least one drawer. And then don't forget about your TVs, too, and all the cords.
The cords
are
is another good one.
insane.
Who doesn't have like 10 cord drawers? All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cannot wait to hear. And we're happy that you're with us this morning.
Thank you.
We're going to begin this hour with the latest out of the Middle East. This morning, the UK Maritime Agency, it says an Iranian gunboat fired upon at least 2 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran's Revolutionary Guard says it has attacked a 3rd ship while seizing 2 of those ships and accusing them of endangering maritime security in that critical waterway.
Now, this is despite President Trump extending the U.S. ceasefire with Iran indefinitely last night, while the U.S. awaits a peace proposal from the Iranians. Meanwhile, President Trump says the U.S. maintains its blockade on Iran's ports in the Strait of Hormuz. For the very latest, we want to bring in NBC News chief foreign correspondent Keir Simmons, who joins us now from Islamabad, Pakistan. Good morning, Keir.
Hey there, good day to you. President Trump aims to force the Iranians back to the negotiating table here in Islamabad. But today, the battle to exert control over the Strait of Hormuz has intensified. News that 2 ships have been seized by Iran, according to Iranian state media, a 3rd targeted with gunfire. This morning, hours after President Trump's ceasefire extension, Iran attacking vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. A cargo ship suffering heavy damage, according to a UK monitoring organisation. Now, news of more ships fired upon and seized by Iranian forces. Iran unmistakably sending a message to President Trump. Overnight, the president continuing to threaten Iran over the Strait of Hormuz, posting that he has, quote, totally blockaded, and that despite requests to open it, quote, if we do that, there can never be a deal with Iran unless we blow up the rest of their country, their leaders included. In Tehran, demonstrators paraded a missile launcher as Iran refused to attend peace talks here in Islamabad, demanding the Trump administration lift its blockade and saying the US couldn't be trusted. Lead US negotiator Vice President Vance, who had been set to travel to Pakistan, instead arriving at the White House, his trip now on hold. An advisor to Iran's chief negotiator writing that Trump's ceasefire extension means nothing, urging a military response to the US blockade. President Trump says Iran's leaders are divided and that he'll wait until the regime can come up with a unified proposal. But in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's hardline military are calling the shots. Over the weekend, during the ceasefire, it fired on an oil tanker, the captain pleading with Iran to stop its attack.
You gave me clearance to go. You are fighting now. Let me turn back.
And this morning, the US also showing force. CENTCOM posting a video.
We're rearming.
Of aircraft carriers and fighter jets during a ceasefire that remains as fragile as ever. Iran's ambassador to the United Nations saying overnight, as soon as Washington ends the naval blockade, I believe the next round of negotiations here in Islamabad can take place. The trouble is, President Trump believes that blockade on the Strait of Hormuz is his leverage and that the Iranian leadership is divided. For now, this looks like a stalemate.
Keir, thank you so much.
Well, the battle for control of Congress is heating up this morning after voters in Virginia narrowly approved a constitutional amendment to redraw the state's congressional map in Democrats' favor. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now with more on how this could impact this year's midterm elections, and it could be big. Gabe, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. This is an escalating fight over how and when the lines of congressional seats are drawn. Usually it happens every 10 years based on population figures. But last year, President Trump pushed for Texas to do it early, to give Republicans an advantage and possibly get more seats. Now, Democrats are fighting back. Overnight, a vote that could tip the balance of power in Washington. Democrats winning a fierce fight in Virginia. Voters approving their plan to redraw the congressional map, potentially giving them up to 4 more seats as they try to win back the narrowly divided House of Representatives. The high stakes leading both parties to focus on Virginia in recent days.
We're urging everyone to vote yes to stop the MAGA power grab.
You just have to vote no. It has to vote no. You can't let this happen.
Former President Obama even getting involved.
Make a plan, show up, and vote yes, Virginia.
The vote was narrow, and it's part of a larger battle across the country. Kicked off when President Trump last year called for Republicans to launch redistricting efforts in multiple key states to help them in this year's midterm elections. Democrats countered with their own proposals in other states. In Virginia, focusing their campaign on the president, who warned his supporters it could mean his opponents take over Congress.
The great things that we did now on a national basis, it's going to be destroyed.
Trump has been hitting the road campaigning for his party.
This November, we're going to win the midterms.
But the president's approval rating is sinking at his lowest point of his second term in NBC News' latest poll, partially driven by the unpopular Iran war. A challenge for the White House as it tries to hold on to that razor-thin majority. Though most self-described MAGA supporters do still approve of Trump's handling of the war, some high-profile Trump allies are speaking out. Tucker Carlson breaking with the president he helped get elected, even apologizing to followers for campaigning for Trump.
I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be.
Virginia's redistricting effort will likely face legal challenges going forward. The state Supreme Court has reserved the right to rule on questions surrounding the measure. But this Democratic victory in Virginia could motivate Republicans elsewhere to try and make changes. The GOP in Florida, for example, is now considering their own redistricting effort. Savannah.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, President Trump's pick to be the next Federal Reserve Chair took center stage before a Senate committee.
Yeah, Kevin Warsh was grilled yesterday by lawmakers. Democrats pressed him on how he would respond to President Trump's desire to lower interest rates. But the road to his nomination, it's uncertain as the Justice Department's investigation into current chair Jerome Powell continues. NBC News chief business correspondent Christine Romans joins us now with the details. Christine, good morning.
Good morning to both of you. Look, Trump's nominee Kevin Warsh is a former Federal Reserve governor. He has criticized the Fed. He has called for policy regime change there. And senators fiercely questioned him over his competence, his previous investments, and most importantly, independence from the president.
Truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
This morning, the man President Trump wants to lead the Federal Reserve and slash interest rates says he won't be beholden to the president.
Are you going to be the president's human sock puppet?
Senator, absolutely not.
Kevin Warsh, a former Federal Reserve governor, testifying before the Senate Banking Committee on Tuesday. At times, the session getting heated with questions on his financials.
Could you answer my question, please?
Whether Trump lost the 2020 election.
I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
And if he's suitable to maintain independence from the president. Warsh adamant the president did not demand he cut rates in exchange for the job.
He didn't ask for it. He didn't demand it. He didn't require it. And nor would I have ever done so.
Hours ahead of Warsh's testimony, the president again demanding lower interest rates.
Will you be disappointed if your new Fed chair, if he gets approved, doesn't cut rates right away?
I would.
The backdrop of the hearing, the president's intense pressure on current Fed chair Jerome Powell.
We have to find out why is a job that should have cost $25 million costing billions and billions of dollars.
And the Justice Department's probe into Powell over a building renovation it claims mismanaged funds, allegations a judge called unsubstantiated. Retiring Republican Senator Tom Tillis doubling down that he would not vote for Warsh until that probe is dropped.
If we want to get Mr. Warsh confirmed, we need to drop the investigation. Move on.
All right, Powell's term as chair ends in May, but if Warsh is not confirmed in time, Powell could then continue to lead the Federal Reserve, potentially setting up a new stage for the president's battle over the central bank. It's remarkable.
Interesting.
A lot to watch for.
Yeah, Christine Romans, as always, thank you.
Well, the Justice Department has indicted a well-known civil rights organization, accusing it of stoking racial hatred by funding the extremist groups it opposes.
According to the 11-count indictment from a federal grand jury, the Southern Poverty Law Center used donor money to pay leaders and organizers of racist groups, including the Ku Klux Klan. The head of the Ku Klux Klan, the head of the SPLC, says that the group is, quote, outraged by the false allegations. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says the group did not live up to its mission statement of dismantling of white supremacy and confronting hate across the country.
As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
NBC News senior justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us now with more on this investigation. Ryan, good morning. So first, just remind us what role the SPLC has played in the civil rights movement, and then explain a little bit more of what it's being accused of here.
Yeah, a really big one. And I think an important context of this is that it's long been a target of Republicans because they don't like the description, basically how they go after the far right. Now, basically what the SPLC is saying is that they're using informants, right? So that's something that the FBI commonly does. And the SPLC did have this relationship with the FBI dating back years, providing really useful information to the Bureau that they say helped dismantle a lot of these far right extremist organizations. But that's, much different from the descriptor that we saw at that press conference there yesterday. And of course, all of this comes at a time when Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, is under enormous pressure from his boss, Donald Trump, to go after individuals that Donald Trump disfavors.
Ryan, in a statement, the interim chief executive of the SPLC said the organization is still reviewing these charges. How else are they responding to these allegations? I mean, it's really crazy. It's literally the opposite of what their mission statement is, that they would be donating to organizations like the KKK.
Yeah, and so they got out ahead of this, right? And they talked about their informant network and how this had paid off in years. And I think, there's certainly a lot of eye-popping details in this indictment altogether. But the crime itself that you're talking about is not actually about this notion that you can pay informants. That's not what is really illegally alleged here. Essentially, what they're saying is that they had these sub-organizations to sort of hide the way that the money was being transferred, that they had these sort of organizations that they used to, I guess, in the DOJ's view, sort of launder this money through other organizations to get it to those ultimate informants. But here's what the SPLC interim president had to say.
We are therefore unsurprised to be the latest organization targeted by this administration. They have made no secret of who they want to protect and who they want to destroy. Although we don't know all the details, the focus appears to be on the SPLC's prior use of paid confidential informants to gather credible intelligence on extremely violent groups. This use of informants was necessary because we are no stranger to threats of violence.
So as you sort of said there, they've turned the page on, using these informants. But, that is a common tactic that the FBI has used in the past. The FBI sends a lot of money to sort of figures that you would not otherwise expect because it helps them get information. And the SPLC has been in the past this tremendous resource of information on a lot of these far right groups.
So the SPLC has had a bad relationship with the Trump administration. That's not a secret. Tell us sort of the road to this prosecution, how this came about.
Yeah, I think that's what the lawyers for the SPLC are going to really expect to focus in on. What the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, said yesterday is that there was this pre-existing investigation years back that sort of puttered out, that didn't really necessarily go anywhere. And it's obviously very unusual for them to go after a nonprofit organization in this way, let alone hold a press conference to sort of announce these types of charges. And so I think that is what you can expect from the SPLC lawyers. You're going to hear them say that this is selective and vindictive prosecution. You're going to see them file motions potentially for a lot of the communications to see exactly how this came about. Was this a mandate from Main Justice? Did Trump administration officials come and say, charge the SPLC because we don't like them? That's what essentially you're going going to be looking for here. What was the origin of this cases? But that is a high standard for them to have to get that discovery. But I think that's what they really want to see. What exactly was the Trump administration doing behind the scenes? And was this sort of a political mandate from the administration rather than sort of a normal case that worked its way through the typical channels using career prosecutors and using career federal agents?
All right, Ryan Riley, thank you so much.
In other news from Washington, the health secretary will be back on Capitol Hill today for another hearing. During a tense congressional hearing yesterday, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was questioned by members of the House about everything from vaccinations and the measles outbreak to President Trump's choice for CDC director. NBC's Ann Thompson joins us now with more on this. Ann, good morning.
Hey there, RFK Jr. is back on the Hill today with lawmakers for more budget hearings. But what ignited fireworks yesterday was his reported handling of dead animals and his controversial stance on vaccines. What began as hearings about the health department's budget quickly devolved into heated exchanges with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Respectfully, you know what I really wish you'd spend more time on? More time thinking about the American people, less time talking about whale heads, bear heads, and raccoon parts.
I don't talk about any of those things.
Okay.
You guys.
Kennedy unable to escape intense questioning about his vaccine skepticism, something he has repeatedly denied.
Not anti-vax. I've never been anti-vax. I don't believe all vaccines are bad. I've never said that. What I've said is they should be safety tested.
Kennedy also scrutinized for hesitating when asked about President Trump's CDC nominee, Dr. Erica Schwartz, who has publicly supported immunizations.
If Dr. Schwartz is confirmed, will you commit on the record today to implement whatever vaccine guidance she issues without interference?
I'm not going to make that kind of commitment.
Because you will not accept the recommendations based on science.
The vitriol from Democrats didn't stop there, criticizing Kennedy's overhaul of the childhood vaccine schedule, a move a federal judge has blocked.
This is real life, Mr. Secretary, and you have blood on your hands.
Kennedy defending his handling of the nation's worst measles outbreak in decades.
The measles epidemic started in January 2025, before I came into office. So the problem is not me. There are people in this country who do not vaccinate.
Last year, 2 children in Texas died of the disease, with nearly 2,300 confirmed measles cases nationwide. So far this year, there have been more than 1,700 cases. During a separate Senate hearing, RFK Jr. showing support for Surgeon General nominee Dr. Casey Means, who has faced criticism over her vaccine skepticism.
She has nothing to do with vaccines, never going to talk about them.
On a related note, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the U.S. military will no longer require all American troops to get the flu vaccine, citing medical autonomy and religious freedom. Back to you.
All right, Ann, thank you. Well, the Transportation Department is touting some major changes coming to the U.S. air traffic controller system. They say the overhaul will include significant technology and equipment upgrades in order to keep our nation's airways safe. This comes as the FAA is facing an ongoing shortage of air traffic controllers and increased safety concerns. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Goss joins us with the details. Steph, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. You know, there's a good chance most air travelers don't quite understand how old our air traffic control system really is. You know, they're using software from the 90s. They use floppy disks, sometimes outdated radar. So as you said, all of that is going to be overhauled. Well, here in New York City this week, we were given another stark reminder of just how important that system is.
This morning, we're learning more about a near miss at New York's JFK Airport. The FAA says 2 approaching planes came so close to each other Monday, their onboard alerts sounded, forcing one to perform a go-around instead of landing. It comes as Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the nation's air traffic control system is finally getting a badly needed makeover.
These upgrades are going to make travel more seamless. We're going to make our skies safer.
Some of the technology currently in use is really old. The change is coming after a string of near misses and deadly incidents. Stop. Just last month, an Air Canada flight hit a fire truck on the tarmac at New York's LaGuardia Airport, killing both pilots. And last year's mid-air collision between a military helicopter and an American Airlines flight in Washington, D.C. killed 67 people.
How desperately in need is the system of an overhaul?
It's been in need of an overhaul for decades.
Dave Riley worked as an air traffic controller for 32 years.
For air travelers who might not be aware, they're probably thinking, God, did that compromise our safety?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some issues that go on, and most of them happen behind the scenes that the flying public is not even aware of.
The changes, which the DOT estimates will take 2.5 years, include software that uses artificial intelligence and a lot of new hardware, like 27,000 radios and hundreds of new radar systems. An antiquated paper strip system that is used to track flights has already been replaced in 17 towers with a new automated digital system. And at 54 airports, there are new surface awareness systems that help track traffic on tarmacs. One of the toughest challenges remains recruiting new air traffic controllers. Victory. The Transportation Department now actively trying to recruit gamers who they say are tech savvy and have good eye-hand coordination.
Congress approved a $12.5 billion budget for this project, but most of that is going to be going to all of this hardware. The software, Secretary Duffy says, is going to need more money to get that much-needed update to that.
Oh, wow. All right, Steph, thank you so much.
Now, we're all for improvements to air traffic control. Time now for a check on your Morning News Now weather.
NBC meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us with what to expect today. Angie, good morning.
Hey there, guys. Good morning. We, over the next couple of days, are going to continue kind of tracking this system that's going to bring us some bumpy weather in some spots. Here's a look at tomorrow. That afternoon severe weather risk anywhere from Texas to Kansas into the second half of the day, and we'll have all the threats on the table. So we'll still be looking at large hail, some strong winds, and a couple of tornadoes. Notice there's some additional rain across parts of the Midwest and stretching down across the South here as we get into your Friday. More of those showers centered across the Great Lakes, and again, still a risk for severe weather from Tennessee to Texas. This is kind of the pattern that we're in. By the time we get into the weekend, the East Coast seeing most of that rain, and we're going to need the umbrellas, especially for the first half of the day. We'll see, again, some chances for stronger storms to develop across parts of the southern central plains, but not quite as widespread of severe weather as what we've been expecting over the past couple of days. When it comes to the rainfall, anywhere from an inch to maybe an inch and a quarter here up across parts of the Midwest. We need the rain, though, across parts of the South and really a good chunk of the country, but specifically Florida, where there are 9 active large wildfires happening right now. We've already seen evacuations. We've seen structures destroyed. You can see the unhealthy air quality is going to be something we deal with today. And we essentially need the rain. Anywhere from 10 to 40% humidity today. We're going to see this critically dry vegetation lasting until we can get a good dose of rain. Usually that starts up here as we get closer to June. Big picture look for your drought monitor, though. You'll notice across the Southeast a whole lot of extreme or even exceptional drought. That's the case across the Rockies. It was quite a dry winter for folks there. They didn't get the rain that they needed, or the snow rather, that they needed. But specifically for the Southeast, 97% of it in the moderate drought. So we're really looking for some additional rainfall across that region. Otherwise, we've got a couple of record highs across parts of the northern and central plains. It's going to be 90 today in Amarillo. Still the bookends of the country running a little cooler than normal, but we'll start to kind of get that milder air closer to the East Coast here as we get into your day tomorrow. 86 in Charlotte, low 80s for Cincinnati. Amarillo tops out at 85. Back over to you.
Welcome back. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing mounting pressure over the appointment of Peter Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to the U.S., who was sacked after details emerged about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, last week, a top civil servant was fired for not telling Starmer that Mandelson failed his security vetting. But in testimony yesterday, that same civil servant told UK lawmakers that he was put under pressure to get Mandelson appointed and that Downing Street had a dismissive attitude to that vetting process. NBC's Ralph Sanchez has more on the growing controversy.
With local elections in the UK just weeks away, Prime Minister Keir Starmer facing new fallout over his disastrous decision to appoint a friend of Jeffrey Epstein as the British ambassador to Washington. A top civil servant fired for his role in the appointment process, telling his side of the story.
The very short answer is I don't fully understand the reasons that I'm in the position I am in.
Starmer appointed Lord Peter Mandelson, seen here in the Oval Office, to be Britain's envoy to the U.S. But Mandelson was forced out last year after after the extent of his friendship with the convicted sex offender was revealed in the Epstein files. And later, he was arrested in the UK on suspicion of sending Epstein sensitive government documents. Though he has not been charged, denies wrongdoing, and says he didn't know about Epstein's criminal activities. Now, it's emerged that Mandelson failed his security vetting, but was still allowed to take up the sensitive diplomatic post.
Tell the House.
For nearly 2.5 hours, Starmer was grilled about that in Parliament, saying he didn't know about Mandelson's vetting status until last week.
Many members across the House will find these facts to be incredible. To that, I can only say they are right.
Starmer fired the top civil servant at the Foreign Office, Sir Ollie Robbins, who he says should have told him. Robbins getting his turn to speak in front of a parliamentary committee, saying he didn't inform Starmer because of the sensitivity of the vetting process, but adding Starmer's aides were dismissive about the security vetting and wanted to rush through Mandelson's appointment in time for President Trump's second inauguration.
The focus was on getting Mandelson out to Washington quickly. Despite this atmosphere, an atmosphere of pressure, the department completed developed vetting to the normal high standard.
The Prime Minister's office denies Robbins' allegation it was dismissive, while President Trump weighing in on Truth Social overnight, saying Mandelson was a really bad pick, the latest in a series of jabs he's made at Starmer, who angered the president by not joining U.S. strikes on Iran.
This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
The crisis eroding Starmer's support even among lawmakers in his own party, who could force him from office next month if local election results are as bad as polls suggest. Another potential aftershock of the Epstein files earthquake, rippling across the Atlantic.
Our thanks to Ralph Sanchez for that report a little earlier today. Starmer faced more questions from lawmakers, once again denying officials were pressured to appoint Mandelson.
More international headlines now. NATO says it intercepted Russian military aircraft over the Baltic Sea.
NBC News International correspondent Danielle Hamamdin joins us now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, ladies. That's right. NATO saying this all happened on Monday. The alliance saying it intercepted Russian strategic bombers and fighter jets that flew over the Baltic Sea. In response, the Russian Defense Ministry said the long-range bomber's flight was scheduled and occurred in airspace over the neutral waters of the Baltic Sea. To El Salvador now, and take a look at these images. They show rows and rows of gang members in a court hearing. Hundreds of MS-13 gang members accused of homicide, drugs and arms trafficking, and disappearances are the subject of a mass trial. According to the Attorney General's office, the group is accused of more than 47,000 crimes over the course of a decade. And finally, here in the UK, a bill banning anyone born after 2008 from buying tobacco has gone through Parliament. Ministers hope this will create a smoke-free generation. The bill will become law when it receives royal assent next week. A whole new era. Times have certainly changed, ladies.
Wow, definitely.
Big changes.
Yeah, wow. Thanks, Danielle. Coming up, OpenAI facing yet another legal battle this morning.
When we come back, why Florida's Attorney General says ChatGPT may have been involved in a deadly mass shooting at FSU last year, and the criminal investigation that is now unfolding. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with the potential battle on Capitol Hill today between the health secretary and the Republican senator who helped put him in that job. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now with more on this and other headlines from Washington. Hey, Megan, good morning.
Hey, Vicki, good morning. Yeah, let's start on Capitol Hill, where Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is set to testify before senators. He'll appear before the committee that's chaired by Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, who had provided the necessary support to get the secretary over the finish line in the confirmation fight last year. Now, Cassidy had supported Kennedy after Kennedy promised to keep federal vaccine recommendations in place. That hasn't happened, and today's hearing marks the first time that the secretary will testify before Cassidy since last September. Let's go next to the Pentagon, where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that the military will not require troops to get the flu vaccine anymore. In a video statement, Hegseth referred to the vaccine mandate as overly broad. He said his department was, quote, seizing this moment to discard any absurd, overreaching mandates that only weaken our war-fighting capabilities. Now, let's rewind for a second. Military vaccination programs have actually gone back to the time of George Washington, who back in 1777 actually mandated that soldiers get inoculated against smallpox. Finally, let's go to yet another resignation in Congress. Representative Sheila Sherfilis-McCormick, a Florida Democrat, resigned amid allegations that she stole federal relief funds and used some of that money for her campaign. Now, her resignation came just moments before the House Ethics Committee was set to consider whether she should actually be expelled from Congress. The committee had previously found her guilty of 25 ethics violations related to those theft allegations. Now, she's denied all wrongdoing, and in her statement announcing her resignation, she called the situation a witch hunt. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Vicki?
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We want to turn now to tech, where OpenAI is at the center of a criminal investigation in Florida over concerns its artificial intelligence tool, ChatGPT, may have been involved in a deadly shooting at Florida State University. The state attorney general says ChatGPT offered the alleged shooter advice on what type of gun and ammo to use in the attack that killed 2 people last year. Yesterday, the state attorney general announced that his office has issued subpoenas for information on how OpenAI handles user threats of harm to themselves or others. OpenAI says it is, quote, not responsible for this terrible crime, end quote. A spokesperson said in a statement, ChatGPT provided factual responses to questions with information that could be found broadly across public sources on the internet. It did not encourage or promote illegal or harmful activity. Now, this all comes 2 weeks after Florida launched its initial civil investigation into OpenAI, that one linked to the shooting as well as other instances of ChatGPT potentially endangering children. NBC News AI reporter Jared Perlow is here to break down all of the details. Jared, good morning to you. So let's begin with these subpoenas. What kind of information are investigators looking for in this now criminal investigation?
Absolutely. So early days of the criminal investigation, but we know that the Florida Attorney General, James Oathmeyer, sent these subpoenas yesterday. So they cover a variety of different information. I'll just list a couple of them right here. So first and foremost, they want to learn about the policies and internal training materials for user threats of harm to themselves and to other people, how OpenAI cooperates with and reports crime to law enforcement agencies. And they're also curious to basically see an organizational chart of who in OpenAI is actually involved with ChatGPT, because they think that ChatGPT might be in some way actively liable for the actions of the shooter in this case. But I think that's one of the critical open legal questions here. To what extent is OpenAI responsible, A, for the actions of ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT for the actions of the shooter?
Well, it's really interesting because yesterday the Florida AG said, look, if somebody a person had given this same type of information to the alleged shooter, we would be going after that person. So it seems like that's sort of the groundwork, the framework for this criminal investigation. Tell us about the civil investigation that is separate but concurrent.
Absolutely. So we learned yesterday that the civil investigation will continue. The exact details there are a little bit cloudy. They're a little bit foggy. So in the initial announcement that the Attorney General made on April 9th, he said that OpenAI should be investigated because potentially foreign adversaries are gaining use of the technology. And they're also really focusing on safeguards to protect children against potential harms from AI. So I'll just note that in Florida, this is a particularly strong case. So Oathmeyer, who's Attorney General, but also Governor Ron DeSantis, is emerging as a champion against, or basically looking into, the role that big tech plays in the role that their products or the effects their products have on children. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Very interesting to see what the states are doing and whether that could potentially lead to federal action as well. Earlier this month, the attorneys for the family of one of the victims in that FSU shooting said they also plan to file charges against OpenAI, a case of some sort. What do we know about that?
So that's also still pending. I reached out again to the attorneys yesterday. They say that they're probably still planning on filing towards the end of the month. So they said that they've seen, in coordination with the state attorney general, that there is over 200 messages exchanged between ChatGPT and the shooter leading up to the mass shooting, which left 2 people dead. So they're planning on also filing suit in a criminal capacity against OpenAI probably in a couple of weeks.
And Jared, do we know how these investigations that are now happening in the state of Florida, how do they compare to other lawsuits that have been widely, brought against OpenAI?
Yeah, absolutely. So people might get lost kind of in the flurry of lawsuits here. By my count, there's currently 9 open lawsuits, active lawsuits against OpenAI. I think that this one filed yesterday is the first criminal complaint. Many of the other ones are civil complaints about wrongful death, but also thinking about consumer protection, product liability, things like that, negligence as well. But I also want to highlight that in March or February of this year, there is also a lawsuit filed in British Columbia in Canada, and that was linked to a mass shooting as well. There was a shooting that left multiple people dead, and the shooter in that case was also interacting with ChatGPT right before the shooting. So I don't even know if this is the first case, this Florida case of OpenAI, of ChatGPT potentially being implicated in a mass shooting.
Interesting. So that case in Canada, a lot of these cases could be really precedent setting. Jared Perlow, thank you so much for all your insight this morning.
Thank you so much.
And coming up, if you didn't know it already, today is Earth Day. So to celebrate, I actually took a deep dive into how we can keep our home planet cleaner by recycling all of those old, outdated electronics. We're going to tell you how to do it safely and smartly next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Today is Earth Day, and to celebrate, we're getting an exclusive look inside the process of recycling old electronics from phones and computers to TVs and toys. According to the UN, 62 million metric tons of e-waste are generated annually, with that number projected to hit 82 million by 2030. I traveled to Plainfield, Indiana, to the largest electronics recycling center in the U.S. to see firsthand where millions of discarded devices are sent every year. This is where each one is sorted, shredded, and given new purpose.
Here is a garbage can full of old electronics.
We all have them. Stacks of old phones, broken laptops, that dreaded tangle of cords, cables, defunct chargers.
This random bin of old electronic accessories.
Shoved in drawers or crammed in the garage, or worse, thrown away and ending up in our landfills. It's called e-waste, defined as discarded, unused, or broken electronic devices. It's one of the fastest growing solid waste streams in the world, with the potential to leak hazardous substances like lead and mercury into the environment if disposed of improperly.
What do you do with old electronics?
That's where super centers like this one come in. Aaron Blum is the co-founder of ERI, the largest recycler of electronics in the country.
So tell me about this facility.
So this facility processes about 250 to 300,000 pounds of electronics per day. You've got toys, you've got laptops, you've got tablets, you've got phones.
First up, the production line, where batteries and other dangerous material are separated.
So what they're doing here is very important to make sure only the right materials go into the machines.
That is correct. And if you don't pull out the material that can't go in the shredder, you have potential of an environmental issue or also a fire risk if batteries get through.
Next, personal devices go through data wiping and dismantling for consumer protection.
He's drilling a hole through the actual hard drive.
Oh, wow. So there's no concern about your private materials when you send a laptop off to recycle it.
That is correct.
And the main event, the largest e-waste shredder in America, complete with AI robotic arms for separating materials.
We process about 75,000 up to 150,000 pounds a day of shredded material. This is going to be your circuit board. So this is going to have your precious metals on it, your gold, your silver, and your palladium.
Each of these bags contains thousands of dollars worth of precious metals that can be reused instead of being mined.
Someone might look at this and be like, oh, this just looks like trash. Come to find out, this is the most valuable item we generate off our shredder.
Also being spit out, plenty of plastic.
This is just plastic?
That's just plastic coming out. That could be printer plastic, that could be a TV plastic, that could be desktop plastic, you name it.
So when we see made with recycled plastic on an electronic, it's this stuff?
It's coming from this stuff.
ERI partners with state and local governments on free recycling programs. as well as major retailers and manufacturers like Samsung.
Getting this material back is critical. We're trying to build a circular economy for our industry.
Mark Newton is the head of sustainability for Samsung North America.
Why is recycling so important when it comes to electronics?
We're running out of material. We simply can't source raw material for all the electronics that have become ubiquitous in our lives.
Samsung's new Galaxy phones and earbuds are made out of 20% recycled materials.
What's really cool is how we've been able to integrate glass and metals.
Newton says the goal is to reuse even more materials in future products, with help from people trading and turning in all those dusty, defunct devices.
This is not trash, it's treasure, and we need to get it back into our economy.
And it's not difficult to do. There are multiple ways to recycle your electronics, and it's all free. You can look up drop-off centers and events that are run by your state and local government. But also, you can go to stores. Best Buy, Staples, they take e-waste for recycling. Just remember, facilities like ERI will wipe the data off of your device, or they'll destroy the hard drive. But the best practice for you as a consumer is to do it yourself. Just go to that factory reset button on your phones, your tablets, your computers before you drop them off. And manufacturers like Samsung and Apple, don't forget, they have trade-in programs, and they will pay, in some cases, hundreds of dollars for your old electronics. Amazon and Costco also will take your old devices in exchange for gift cards. On the flip side, when you're buying, consider buying something that is refurbished instead of brand new. You can save 20 to 50% on that item, and you'll also get the same certifications and warranties to ensure that you're still getting a quality product. So no reason not to check that out as well. All right, now to what's making financial headlines. Amazon is dipping its toes into the growing pool of weight loss drugs. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Cannell is here with your Morning Money Minute. Hey, Ali.
Hey, good morning. That's right. Jumping on the bandwagon here, the company is launching a new program through its One Medical unit to offer popular GLP-1 drugs. That's the same class of medications as Wegovy and Zepbound, with prices starting as low as $25 a month with insurance. The push leverages Amazon's same-day delivery capabilities, and it's already created quite a bit of buzz and shaking up competition across the industry. And from health to space with an AI twist, Elon Musk's SpaceX has struck a deal with Cursor. It's an AI startup that builds code writing software, and the partnership could lead to a $60 billion buyout. In a social media post, SpaceX said Cursor could help it build the world's most useful AI models as the company prepares for what could be one of the largest IPOs ever. And finally, looking up could pay off. The Lyrid meteor shower is peaking this week, and Subway is offering free sandwiches for a year to anyone who finds and verifies a real meteorite. Now, it's a play on meteor sandwiches and meteor. You got it there. It's a little bit cheesy, but the prize is not up for grabs. Includes about $2,600 worth of Subway gift cards. So I say that shooting star is probably worth chasing. And to enter, you can upload an image online at ifoundameteor.com. And yes, the spelling for meteor being the deli meat version, not the star.
Some really creative person jumped on that and was like, you know what, meteor, actually meteor.
Yes. All these food companies, they really hop on anything that's going on at the current moment.
Right.
Whether it be something happening in pop culture or something happening in the world. And then, they create these promotions and they create the buzz.
Who was it? Was it Waffle House? Somebody did a collab where they put like real syrup in a Nike shoe or a Vans or something. But yes, you're absolutely right. Yes. They are looking for like what is of the moment. So you got to look up, you got to find the meteor and take a picture.
Take a picture, upload it to the website, and then, see if you could win. I mean, free sandwiches for a year, it's not bad.
Listen, if it's free, it's me. I love
exactly,
it.
I agree.
All right. Ali, thank you so much. Coming up, it is a colossal day in our nation's capital. The baby elephant making her big debut at DC's National Zoo this morning, a special delivery that has been decades in the making. That's up next. And finally this hour, the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington, D.C. is debuting a new animal that's already a star. Starting today, visitors will get to see the first baby Asian elephant born at the zoo in nearly 25 years. NBC News correspondent Ryan Nobles is there and joins us now with more. Hey, good morning, Ryan.
Today's debut is 25 years in the making. That's the last time a baby elephant was born here at the National Zoo. And after spending time this week with little Lin Mai, I can tell that she is ready to take center stage.
She may weigh more than 500 pounds.
and take out the equivalent of 2 liters of baby elephant formula in less than 2 minutes. But trust us, Lin Mai is really just an itty-bitty baby.
It's pure joy. I think anybody looking at that elephant calf knows exactly how we're feeling.
This beautiful, not quite little bundle of joy was born at the National Zoo in early February and has spent the last few months getting ready for the thousands of people that will make their way to the zoo to see her.
She better be ready. From what I understand, she's already a very popular lady.
But her entry into the world hasn't been completely smooth. Lin Mai's mother, Ni Lin, who is a first-time mom, did not connect with her new daughter, something that can happen with Asian elephants.
We know that things can go wrong. We know that nothing's perfect. This is also what happens in the wild.
But the zoo was prepared. In steps Swarna.
Once we were really looking for some sort of companionship for Lin Mai, we went right to Swarna. And during their immediate introduction to one another, Swarna's behavior indicated to us that she knew what Lin Mai was. She knew that she needed support.
The older female elephant that had helped to raise calves in the past quickly became Lin Mai's surrogate auntie, a role that is vital to the baby elephant's growth.
They've been inseparable ever since.
Swarna is teaching Lin Mai all the important things elephants need to know. They don't come out of the womb just knowing how to use their trunk. They've got to be taught.
Correct. They're very similar to us in the fact that they need to learn how to be an elephant and how to master the skills to be successful at it.
And as she matures, she's also growing, between 2 to 3 pounds a day. So if you want to see her as a baby, you better get here quick, because just like human babies, they grow in the blink of an eye. As of now, Lin Mai is only spending physical time with Swarna. There is a bit of an introduction to the rest of the herd, but only through fence lines. The hope is that she can fully join the herd as she gets a bit older, perhaps even reuniting with her biological mother.
Oh, we sure hope so. Ryan Nobles, thank you so much. And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now. But your news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.